Jason Clemmons, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are live tonight, Monday, May 13th, right here from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas, and on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. So, hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope everybody had a great Mother's Day. Thanks for all the mothers out there. We appreciate y'all. Um, we're thankful for our moms. If you're not thankful for your mom, you should reconsider your stance on that. And if your mom wasn't fabulous, maybe she didn't take enough fish oil, or maybe she never heard of this show, or maybe she never went for a walk, or she just needed a little bit extra help. So, but yeah, moms are good folks. I know my mom's a good person, and did a fantastic job with dedicating her life for us. And so I really appreciate my mom and appreciate my wife too. She's a fantastic mom. She's a fantastic wife, and she's a fantastic mom, and she has been for 26 years now. And so I'm really proud of her too. So thanks for all the moms out there. Um, yeah, well, it was good. We got to go to Dallas this weekend, actually to South Lake. We went and watched my son. He put on his spring musical show at Pascal High School. He's a theater teacher at Pascal, and they put on the show this weekend. So we went and watched that. He really did a great job. He did a good job. He built the whole set, and which is fantastic. Had a whole two levels, had stairs and the whole thing. It was great. It was good to see him. It was good to get to spend a little time with him. We talk about all this health stuff all the time, and we talk about every night from 6 to 7. We're trying to talk about something that has to do with health. And one thing I don't think I do a good enough job about is explaining the whole point of health, because the whole point of health is to have it so that you can go do all those things out there that you want to do and be the person that you want to be for as long as you could possibly do that. Right? The being healthy is not the end all be all. That's not the point. Like how fit you are, how healthy you are. And there's a lot of people, especially young people, that they turn their whole life into their fitness. Like that is their thing, is their fitness. Well, for the rest of us, I'm just trying to share the idea that it's not about our fitness. It's about our life that we're trying to live. And we really do want to try to get out there and live our life. So, sometimes you get the opportunity to travel a little bit, go places, do things. I'm torn. I love what I'm doing. I love my work, and it's not necessarily something that's on the front of my mind awareness to be able to need to travel. But it's always so awesome when I go someplace, especially when you go to like the Metroplex or something, and you just see you get your eyes on something different. You just get your eyes on bigger thoughts or different thoughts, or you see different scale of things. That always blows me away whenever I go to the Metroplex and I see the different scale of things. And so I want to be able to go and do and think and have my brain working and make sure that I'm not exhausted the whole time that I'm there, and make sure that I'm not exhausted when I get back. It's like sometimes you go and spend the whole weekend running hard and then you get back and then you're exhausted. I don't want to do that. I want to be healthy enough to be able to go on vacation. I want to be healthy enough to be able to go see the places and the people that I want to go see, and come back and not be broken down and not feel like, man, I just need to take another day off. Right. So that's what it's all about. And I tell you what, when you go, we got to do some, one of the things, believe it or not, that my girls like to do is shop, and to be a good husband and a good dad. I try to make sure that we could set that up. So we stayed at at the town square right there in Southlake, Texas. If you guys have never been there, it's a cool little place to stay. There's a Hilton back there. You can stay the night, and then you can spend the entire day walking around the shops, and that's what we did. And then we ended up at one of our favorite restaurants. Um, that there, it's called La Hacienda Ranch. That's in the Metroplex, and they have the most awesome fajita lights. You can go in there. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but you can go in there to a Mexican food restaurant and you can get a fabulous, rather healthy meal. Maybe there's some oils on it or something that don't fit exactly what we do at home, but it's called fajita lights. Oh, it's delicious. We every time we go, we got to go to La Hacienda Ranch and get us some fajita lights because they just take the regular fajitas with the, if you like the peppers and the onions. I always order mine without that part, but you get the peppers and onions, but then they fill it up with zucchini and squash, big old chunks of zucchini and squash and mushrooms, and then you can get your fajita meat, your chicken or your steak, and or your combo of it right there. And man, it's just delicious. So you can go and you can eat well, and you can walk around the shops, and so that's what we did. We spent the day. But when I do that, man, I just look at all the people. And Southlake is a pretty ritzy place, and there's a lot of high dollar people that are around there. So there's a lot of people that are really interested in health and wellness. So you see a lot of fitness type people there, but you also see a lot of people who are not interested in health and wellness, and that's always a little bit when you get in around so many different people. It's kind of sad to see the volume of people that are out there. So um, it puts things in perspective for those of us that are studying health. I could tell you when you travel that it's super important to have a plan, because if you don't have a plan when it comes to health, you'll get yourself in a situation to where that you've got you're forced into um, you're forced into making some really questionable choices with your food, with your sleep, with your activity, with your hydration. That's another thing. To make sure you get enough hydration when you're playing hard and doing all that stuff. Um, but a lot of times it's hard when you, especially, and I think we all know this, when there's multiple people out there that um, you're trying to get everybody in a restaurant at the same time, or you're trying to get everybody on the same page at the same time, and to try to find something for breakfast, to try to find something. What are we going to eat for lunch? Well, what are we going to eat for lunch there? What are we going to try to? Are we going to leave and try to find a healthier place? Do we have something planned out? Do we know what we're going to eat? And first day we got there, the girls like this place. I think it's called Salada, and it's a salad place. It's a walk through buffet. It looks like a Chipotle type place, but just for salad. And so you just start off, and they give a big old bowl, and then they let you pick out your lettuce and all that sort of thing, and then you just go right down the list, right down the way there, and just fill up your salad with whatever you want on your salad. So we got really lucky that place was there, and so that was our meal when we first got there on Friday, and then we found a smoothie bowl place. We got a smoothie bowl, and they got to watch that a little bit from the sugar standpoint, right? You can get a lot of sugar from that, and then we had some bars to pull us through, and we took some nuts and stuff like that, and that kind of got us through most of the morning, and and then ended up at the Hacienda Ranch for supper, and then we were coming back yesterday, and this is just this is not a criticism. It's just something I wanted to mention because I know some of our listeners are in smaller towns around in West Texas, and you may be in a smaller town in Japan or something. I don't know where you're listening from, but um, we stopped at the gas station. The girls were needing a snack or something. We stopped at the gas station, and there wasn't anything. One of the little small towns that was between here and Fort Worth, and there wasn't anything that they could find at the gas station. So as we left, I was like, well, they got to have a grocery store in this town somewhere. And so we pulled into the grocery store, and it's a really small town, and the grocery store um, is old. You can tell it hadn't been addressed in a long time by whoever owns it. Whoever owns it obviously is not passionate about groceries or about people, so you can tell they're passionate about money. That you could obviously tell what their passion was because of the way they ran their grocery store. But it was quite shocking, the groceries that were available in that store. It was almost impossible to find anything good to eat. I found a bag of pistachios that was in a bag. The produce section was stuck in the middle of the hardware department. The fruit was disgusting looking. The majority of it. Um, they had the whole front section was all the fried foods and the fried chicken and all the stuff that went with it. So there was nothing in the front. There wasn't anything in the front that was going to give you a healthy meal. And then the rest of it was all just cans and boxes. Um, it really was. And I just thought to myself, I was like, man, this is an interesting analysis right here, because obviously the people in the town don't care. They don't demand a better grocery store. They're not they don't really care. And because they don't care, there's a supply and demand issue going on. So the grocery store is like, hey, I could put a bunch of healthy food in there, but they're not going to eat it. They're just going to eat the the garbage that's in there. And so it goes kind of both ways. So I know I'm not going to talk to the masses on this deal. I know no one that's that it, we're not going to get a big response out of that. The grocery store people sure as heck don't care, or they already would have fixed it. And the people. So I thought I would just mention it. The reason I wanted to bring it up is I wanted to just mention it as an individual person. Each individual person, if you're living in a small town, man, you're challenged. And I know this. I've done the same thing. I've walked through the grocery stores in these small towns around here, some of them, and it's super hard. And but let's. So I don't want to talk to the whole little town. I'm not even going to mention the town it was. But if you live in a small town and you're listening to the show, you've got a challenge. You've got a challenge to try to get nutritious food. Now you may be a gardener. You might have your own garden, and you might be getting all your food out of your own garden. If you are, good for you. But you're going to have a really if you're going to go, there's no place to eat in these towns because they're so small. What do you got? A Dairy Queen and a McDonald's or something like that. There's not a barbecue place. There's a barbecue place in every little town. That's not gonna get you by. That's not gonna really serve you. So then you got to go to the grocery store, but then there's almost nothing in the grocery store that's super healthy for you. And it becomes a culture. Well, it becomes a culture of, well, everybody in my town just eats the same thing, and they just go. Everybody shops at that same grocery store, and what are you going to eat, right? So if you're wanting to be healthier, man, you've got to make a. You're going to have to make a real effort if you live in a small town to try to get yourself some good food. It's just a. It's just. It's just a really super hard thing to do. And if you're in a bigger town, it's by neighborhood, but you can drive across town. So all those people that live over on East Lubbock, and even not so far east, but if you're over there, I've gone through those grocery stores, and I get it. I get the supply and demand of it, but you can get yourself over here to these good grocery stores on this side of town, and you can buy some good healthy food for yourself. And if you need some help with that, you can call us. You can call Kim. You can go on YouTube. You could go to the library. You can go to Barnes and Noble, get you a book. There's about 5 million things you could do to try to get yourself to nutrition or some education about nutrition, and then end up knowing where you can go grocery shop. Because you can come over to any of these market streets that we have, the United Market Streets that we have in Lubbock, and you could get yourself some good food. It doesn't matter. Like you could grocery shop Just act like you live in the country and you have to go to the grocery store and just come over here and get some good food. There's 98th and Quaker's got a great one. We got an HEB here in town. We got several market streets from United that are that you can get good food from. There, there's one on Slide and 114th. There's one on 50th in Indiana. We got a great grocery store at 98th and Quaker. Those are good stores that you can find good food in. If you're listening across town and you're like, man, I go in my grocery store and they're not there. That it's like, what? I don't know what food he's talking about, because the food in my grocery store is not the same food that he's talking about. But you can find it, and you can get the good food, and you can get the good produce, and you can get the good meats, and you can get the grass-fed meats, and you can find the you can even find the peanut butter that's just peanuts and salt. It like the Smucker's brand peanut butter. If you're going to eat peanut butter, which I don't, I'm not a fan of peanut butter because of the high omega-6 content in peanuts. But if you were gonna eat peanut butter, it's hard to find it in some of these grocery stores. There wasn't any of that in that little small town that we stopped in. And I've been to multiple grocery stores here in town. And depending on which neighborhood you live in, you're not going to find it in there. You're not going to find the Smucker's peanut butter that just is peanuts and salt. That's the only thing that's in there. And so you're going to find the Jif or the Peter Pan or all that crap that's got a bunch of extra stuff in it. And it's your only choice. And so I'm not God, me, I'm not a proponent of omega sixes, but that is something that you get challenged with if you're on the wrong side of town. So that was the weekend. That was the things I wanted to talk about mainly from the weekend. I did see an article today, and I wanted to talk about this article just a little bit. And I haven't really broken down the whole thing, but it's in Nature magazine. It is volume 629, May 9th of 2024, page 276. How the immune system holds the key to aging. Our immune system falters over time, which could explain the negative effects of aging. And they did a pretty good job right here. So I thought I would just go through this article a little bit, because I know that you guys are interested in that. And we've actually got an experiment going on right now that's very similar to this. That one of my persons this one of my patients decided she wanted to do a little experiment, so we did some brain mapping with her, and it's kind of interesting because she sent me some stuff, and we had a conversation this morning, and then I got this article, and it says stem cell researcher Carolyn Florian didn't trust what she was seeing. Her elderly laboratory mice were starting to look younger. They were more sprightly and their coats were sleeker. Yet all she had done was briefly treat them many weeks earlier with a drug that corrected the organization of proteins inside a type of stem cell. Now, well, I'll just read it and we can talk about it as we go. But when technicians who were replicating her experiment in two other labs found the same thing, she started to feel more confident that the treatment was somehow rejuvenating the animals. In two papers in 2020 and 2022, her team describes how the approach extends the lifespan of mice and keeps them fit into old age. A target of Florian's elixir is the immune system. The stem cells she treats are called hemopoietic or blood stem cells, which gives rise to all immune cells. As blood circulates, the mix of cells pervades every organ, affecting all bodily functions. So basically, what they're saying is the health of your immune system is dictating the health of your life, which that's not that big of a jump right there. That it's maybe you didn't think of it. But the molecular composition of these cells change with age, and this distorts the balance of immune cells that they produce. Fixing the drift in them that occurs with time seems to fix a lot of problems of aging, not only in the immune system, but also in the rest of the body, says Florian, who is now at the Belvitage Biomedical Research Institute in Barcelona, Spain. In March, another team showed that restoring the balance between two key types of immune cells gives old mice more youthful immune systems, improving the animal's ability to respond to vaccines and to starve off viral infections. Other scientists have used different experimental approaches to draw the same conclusion. Rejuvenating the immune system rejuvenates many organs in an animal's body, at least in mice. And most in intriguingly, evidence suggests that immune system aging might actually drive the aging of the organs. Makes sense. If your immune system gets old, maybe you it has something to do with the way that your organs are functioning. I think that those. I mean, the immune system is something that number one you don't like. What Judy Mikovits taught me was you want the immune system to be calm and low key. You don't want your immune system to have to fight crazy all the time. It's not bad as a child to have your immune system challenged. I think we're way too clean a lot of times, and we don't get enough challenge with our immune system, and that could be a problem. But with an adult, you want to calm it down. You want to keep that immune system calmed down, but getting your proper exercise and doing the nutrition, making sure you're getting it goes back to our proteins that are lifelong or longevity proteins and short-term proteins and all that sort of thing. Are we getting enough nutrition that's helping our immune system function the way it's supposed to? Uh, yeah. So uh, the prospect of reversing immune system aging may control age-related diseases is enticing, says stem cell scientist Sebastiano at Stanford Medical School in California. But we are moving forward cautiously. In human immune system the human immune system is a complex beast whose um, cellular and molecular components work together to shape development, protecting against infections, help wounds to heal, and eliminate cells that threaten to become cancerous. But it becomes less effective as people age and the system's composition starts to change. In older age, people become susceptible to a range of infections and non infectious diseases and more resistant to the protective powers of vaccines. Yeah, and you know how I feel about vaccines. And I was thinking about that today about whether or not it wasn't today, it was over the weekend about the whole vaccine thing and whether I'm an anti vaxxer or a non vaxxer. It's not, first of all, within my scope of practice in the state of Texas, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on that. But if you were going to ask me, um, as a doctor, I'm not telling you. You talk to your medical doctor about it. As me personally, as Jason Clemmons, I'm not interested in any of them. Not interested in any of them. I think I could live 100 years on this earth perfectly fine without any of them. And will I ever take another one as long as I live? No, I won't. The immune system has two main components: a fast acting innate system, which destroys invading pathogens indiscriminately, and a more precise adaptive immune system, which components learn to recognize specific foreign bacteria and viruses and generate antibodies against them. That's that whole neutrophil macrophage thing, and then the B cells and the T cells. That's what we got into during COVID, and we talked about and why we wanted to make sure that you keep your inflammation down, because inflammation is the beginning stages of the immune response, and you want to make sure that you keep your inflammation down. But at the same time, you also want to make sure that um, you by keeping your inflammation down, you keep your neutrophils down in the tissue. And I had this conversation just last week. Drew it up on the board with someone who exercises a lot, and someone who exercises a lot versus someone that doesn't exercise a lot. We I think we get into that we get into an immune response, but we get into an inflammatory response, and we get into a free radical response. And so the immune system in an inflamed person, because that kind of ties itself back around. Uh, I'm not 100% sure that we should be doing as much exercise as we do in the elite athlete realm. I'm just not 100% sure about that. I could be wrong, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, I'll get back to it. Um, but you've got those two kinds of cells. You got the neutrophils and the macrophages that are really quick, and then you've got those T cells and B cells that the phagocytes that come around kind of later. And so your B cells and your T cells are the ones that have to get all that information at when the fight starts. It has to get that information back to your lymph glands so that it can start to find those antigens and make those antibodies. And that's one of the major components of what goes on with vitamin D. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Vitamin D helps that as well. So, okay, so we're coming up on a break. I'll give you guys, we'll be right back right after these messages on Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we'll continue this conversation when we get back. Sorry about the microphone tonight, guys. I didn't have a chance because I was gone over the weekend. Something happened to my microphone system last week when we were Wednesday, and I apologize also for you guys that listened to the show. I didn't get a post made that I wasn't going to be live on Thursday and Friday last week, so I apologize for that. I had intentions of making that happen, but I didn't make it happen. So that was 100% my fault. And I'll just go ahead and tell you right now that we will not be live tomorrow night. I've got to make a trip over to Roswell to see some family, and it's kind of a sad situation that's going on over there. So um, it's a balanced situation. My mother-in-law is turning 80 tomorrow, so we're going to go over and celebrate her birthday. And at the same time, my brother-in-law is dying from a glioblastoma, and so that's a very sad situation that we're dealing with right there. So I need to. We're going to go see my mother-in-law, but at the same time, we're going to go see my brother-in-law if he still makes it till tomorrow, and unless he didn't want to do that by herself. So that's what we're doing. So we will not have a show. We will not have a show tomorrow night. I did talk to some of my patients today, and any of you guys that I've got one request. I've got a show on sugar and the brain and how it works with anxiety and depression. I've got that request made, so I will get on that, and we'll have one of those shows hopefully this week if I can find some time to prepare for that just a little bit. But if you personally have something that you want to talk about, no matter where you are, if you'll send it to me, if you'll send me a message or if you'll send me a text, 806-794-0400, then you can send it to me and I'd be glad to cover it. I had a couple of questions. I'm going to go over one of them just a little bit here in just a second from one of my ladies that just got adjusted this evening, and she asked me the question, so I'm gonna cover it as soon as we get finished with this article. So, okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. It's Monday, May 13th, and we're live tonight. So we're just going over an article. I'm trying to get to the point of the whole thing, but it's about the immune system and aging. And I thought you guys might think it's cool if I could ever get through the whole thing. But these hemopoietic cells in the bone marrow spawn the immune cells of both arms of the system. They differentiate into two main classes, lymphoid and myeloid. So you may have heard those words before, which go on to differentiate further. Lymphoid cells are mostly responsible for adaptive immunity, which includes the B cells, which produce antibodies, T cells, which help to attack invaders and orchestrate complex immune responses, and natural killer cells, which destroy infected cells. Myeloid cells include a raft of cell types involved mostly in innate immunity. One of the earliest changes in the immune system as people age is the shrinking of the thymus, which begins after puberty. Puberty. This organ is the crucible for T cells, but a lot of tissue has turned into fat by the time people hit their 30s, slashing their production of new T cells and diminishing the power of the immune system. And also, if they take a lot of Splenda, because Splenda attacks the thymus gland. So anything that's got sucralose in it is going to mess up your immune system. But that's just an aside right there. So it's going to hit them in their 30s, slashing the production of new T cells and diminishing the powers of the immune system. What's more, the function of T cells alters as they age and become less specialized in their ability to recognize infectious agents. The portion of different types of immune cells circulating in the blood also changes. The ratio of myeloid to lymphoid cells skews markedly towards myeloid cells, which can drive inflammation. That's what I just got through saying, and I didn't even read that part of the article. The myeloid cells, which is the innate immunity, which is the macrophages and the neutrophils, increase when a person's inflamed. And whenever the person is inflamed, and they have the high levels of neutrophils, whenever they have to attack some sort of virus or bacteria, since they have so many neutrophils, they always have the cytokine storm that goes with it, which is the communication signal from neutrophil to neutrophil. The neutrophil releases the cytokine to get more neutrophils to come help the problem. And there's always fluid, there's plasma that comes with that because those neutrophils are getting through the lining of the blood vessels. And whenever that happens, they kind of morph themselves, bring themselves through the into the tissue, and now the tissue swells more. And if that tissue is in your lung, then you're going to get really wheezy, and your lungs are going to fill up with fluid, and you'll end up with some sort of pneumonia. And then when you end up with pneumonia, now you got a problem, right? And the majority of the time that you are dealing with that, I just wish they would go in there and show all those people, the non-inflamed people, how little pneumonia they have and how many inflamed people have higher levels of pneumonia, or the cytokine storm that everybody, their lungs filled up and they couldn't breathe when they got like dealing with COVID and all that sort of thing, right? And that's basically what I'm talking about. So this is saying as you age, then you get more of those myeloid cells, which is that immediate response that happens. And so it drives the inflammation. Moreover, increasing numbers of immune cells become senescent, meaning that they stop replicating but don't die. Any cell in the body can become senescent, typically when damaged by mutation. Once in this state, cells start to secrete inflammatory signals, flagging themselves for destruction. This is an important anti-cancer and wound healing mechanism that works well in youth, but when too much damage accumulates with aging, the immune cells themselves also become senescent. The mechanism breaks down. Senescent immune cells attracted by the inflammatory signals from senescent tissue, secrete their own inflammatory molecules. Not only do they fail to clean up properly, but they also add to the inflammation that damages surrounding healthy tissue. This phenomenon is known as inflammaging. I've never heard of that phenomenon before in my life. Inflammaging. 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 Okay. It becomes a terrible positive feedback, never-ending dance of destruction, says immunologist Arnie Akbar at University College of London. And evidence suggests that this feedback loop is kicked off by the immune system. In a series of experiments in mice, Laura Niederhofer at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis has shown that immune cells senescent senescence actually drives senescence in other tissues. These cells are extremely dangerous, she says. I know that's a lot of saying the word senescent, but uh, her team uses genetic methods to eliminate an important DNA repair enzyme in the immune systems of the mice. The animals remained healthy until adulthood, but then unable to correct accumulating mutations. Various type of immune cells started to become senescent. A few months later, increased numbers of cells in organs such as the liver and kidney also fell into senescence, and the organs showed signs of damage. These effects were all reversed when the scientists gave the mice immune cells from the spleens of young, healthy mice. All of this suggests that fixing the characteristics of immune system aging could help to prevent or mitigate diseases of aging, says Niederhofer. I'm going to go ahead and finish it because we're right up against we're against. I'm going to finish it. Battling senescence. Many scientists are trying to do just that from very different angles. Lots of the approaches hint that a very short-term treatment of the immune system might have long-term effects, keeping side effects of a more manageable minimum. One approach is to tackle senescence immune cells head on using drugs to either remove them or block the inflammatory factors they secrete. Senescence immune cells have long been known to be very modifiable in humans. If they go up, if they go up if you smoke and down if you exercise. Yeah, exactly, right? Some drugs, such as something, is approved for the treatment of some cancers, and quercetin, which is marketed as an antioxidant dietary supplement but not approved as a drug, are known to reduce the aging related acceleration of senescence. And dozens of clinical trials are testing their impact on various age related diseases. Niederhofer herself is involved in a small clinical trial on older people with sepsis, a condition that becomes more deadly with age. Her team is also doing experiments to assess which of the many types of immune cells is the most important in driving senescence in the body, which would help the design more precise therapies. Two types, T cells and natural killer cells, are emerging as contenders, she says. She plans to screen natural products and drugs already approved for use by the FDA for their ability to interact with those types of immune cells in senescence. Akbar thinks that targeting inflammation itself might be effective as targeting the senescent cells. He and his colleagues did a study in the healthy volunteers using investigational compound losmapimode, which blocks an enzyme involved in the production of inflammatory molecules called cytokines. There we go. I didn't even know that I was going to say that. They treat the volunteer with drugs for 4 days and then, over the course of a week, measure their skin response to an injection of the virus that can cause chickenpox. Most people are exposed to this virus during their lives and it frequently lingers in the body, but with age, people tend to lose their immunity to it, and it can manifest as shingles. The drug restored the immune response in the skin in older volunteers to a level similar to seen in younger volunteers. In unpublished work, Akbar found the same robust skin results up to 3 months later. Temporarily blocking inflammation in this way to allow the immune system to function might similarly boost the response of older patients to flu vaccinations. Yeah, it's so hard when you read these studies that are done like Nature, and you read these studies that are done by these medical people, and it's not their fault, but they spend their lives trying to figure out what the innate intelligence of the body has known for thousands of years. If you just put the cells in an environment that's congruent with health, your body expresses health. If you put the cells in an environment that's incongruent with health, your body expresses nothing or symptoms or malfunction or whatever disease as a feedback mechanism to let you know, or it breaks itself down. And so, what are these guys trying to do? These guys are trying to decrease the inflammation so that your body can fight off the chickenpox virus so you don't get shingles. So let's reverse engineer that whole statement right there. your body gets shingles because it loses its ability to keep its immune system strong. And now you've already got the chickenpox virus inside your body anyway, and so when your immune system gets weak, then all of a sudden you can't fight off the virus, and now the virus, it's dormant for all those years, but then it comes back to life, and you end up with shingles. So what this guy is saying, and what shingles is really is it's your immune system that is weak, and that's why your shingles come back. So, what could you do to increase your immune system function and keep your immune system strong? Well, you could eat right, move right, think right, sleep right. You could do all those things, and then your immune system could stay strong, right? I mean, that's you keep your inflammation down. So, you see how it just stacks. What do we start to show off? We start to show off about stopping at the little town grocery store where you can't find any healthy food, and basically the entire grocery store is full of inflammatory foods. So the whole grocery store is full of inflammatory foods, and it's the only grocery store in the town. So by default, you get a bunch of people in the town who are inflamed, and now their immune systems don't work. And as we were driving out of the town, we drove past the community nursing home and the community healthcare center, and I'm like, yeah, those places are probably full all the time because of the inflammation that the people have, and their bodies aren't working properly. It's a vicious cycle right there. But it always goes back to the same thing. Every one of the articles that we're talking about, every one of the conversations that we have, they all just go back to that same thing. It's so, like, how do I keep my inflammation down? Well, you could change your peanut butter to almond butter. Now, how are you going to get almond butter in a town that doesn't have any almond butter? I don't know. You better order it from Amazon. If Amazon runs to that town, then you would do that. Now, we had a conversation in our 6 o'clock workout class last week about the high levels. There's still high levels in nuts from a tree. Macadamia nuts are low, walnuts are low in your omega-6-3 ratio, but the other nuts are still higher. It's almonds and pistachios and all that sort of thing still have a level of omega-6s in them that's high. And if you're trying to completely eliminate all of your omega-6s, then that would be something that you would eliminate. There are some good nutrients that you can get from tree nuts based on my study, even though you're going to get a little bit higher. But a little bit high on sixes versus a lot high on sixes is a lot different. And so any of those nuts that you get, which aren't nuts, like the peanuts, are not nuts, they're legumes, and the cashews. Dr. Gundry's not a big fan of the cashews for the lectin component. The peanuts are really high in omega-6s. So you get back into that inflammatory response. And whenever you eat omega-6s in the presence of insulin, then you get arachidonic acid. And that's where you get your inflammation that carries through, right? So you don't want to eat your peanut butter on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because if you eat your peanut butter on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you're going to get inflamed. That's going to go along with it. You're going to get arachidonic acid, and now you're taking that high omega-6 component and you're adding white bread and jelly to it, and here comes your inflammation. And then inflammation is going to break down your joints, and it's going to break down your spine, and it's going to get you degenerative disc disease. And it doesn't matter how many sit-ups you do or how many push-ups you do or how many CrossFit workouts you do or doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you've got those inflammatory things going on inside your body, then you're going to end up with these degenerative diseases, and you're going to end up with an immune system doesn't work. And then they're going to try to sell you the idea to go get your shingles vaccine because your immune system's weak. Yeah. His quote is temporarily blocking inflammation in this way to allow the immune system to function might similarly boost the response of older patients to flu vaccinations. Yeah, why don't we just get you another flu vaccination? Yeah, or why don't you just be healthy enough to handle the flu? That'd be another option from a health guy's standpoint. Let's talk about the immune boost right quick. So the immune boost, the value of priming the aged immune system before administering a vaccine has been demonstrated in a series of clinical trials led by researchers Joanne Manick, chief executive of Tornado Therapeutics, which is headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. Those trials tested analogs of the drug rapamycin and other drugs with similar mechanisms, which targeted the immune system and are approved for the prevention of organ transplant rejection and for the treatment of some other cancers. The drug blocks an enzyme called mTOR that is crucial for many physiological functions and which becomes deregulated in old age. For several weeks before receiving their influenza vaccination, trial participants were treated with doses of the drugs that were low enough to avoid side effects. Uh-huh. This treatment regimen improved their responses to the vaccine and boosted the ability of their immune system to reset viral infections in general. Yes. So if we give you a drug that knocks out the enzymes that is crucial for many physiological functions, then we can come behind it and we can give you a vaccine that would stimulate your immune system to function so that you can come back to normal levels. That is one option that is out there for consumption in the world, right? That's the way that the medical model does it. The other way you could do it is to keep your immune system strong. You want to know one thing that decreases immune system function? Sugar. Just in case you were wondering. But rapamycin can rise substantially to infection, can raise susceptibility to infection and affect metabolism. So Manic is planning trials with similar drugs that might have safer profile, but there are all sorts of different ways to try to improve the immune system. That she and I agree on. There are lots of different ways to improve the immune system, and one of them is just to be healthy. That would be a great idea. One other way is to try to restore the function of the thymus to maintain the production of new T cells. This immunologist, Jared uh, Dudikov at the Fred Hutchins Cancer Institute in Seattle, Washington, is researching the basic biology of thymus cells to try to work out how they regenerate themselves after stressful assaults. It's a little bit early to see how this understanding will translate to the clinic, but he thinks that maintaining the ability of the thymus to generate a broad repertoire of T cells will be foundational. Of course. Others are trying to combat aging by generating thymic tissue from different kinds of cells, pluripotent cells, stem cells, for eventual transplantation. But Greg Fay, chief scientist officer at the someplace in California, says no need to wait for these long-term prospects to come to fruition because an available drug, synthetic growth hormone, is already known to regenerate thymus. So this is where it just gets into drugs and all that sort of thing, and that's been boring enough as it goes. But all those things that those people work on all day long, they work on them and they think they're doing great work, and sometimes they are doing great work, and sometimes it's very handy to have them. But for the most part, they're just trying to do what your immune system already knows how to do, and they're just trying to take what your immune system already does and then see if they can make it manipulate it in some form or fashion. And it's really something that you could do yourself by just keeping yourself healthy. We got a few minutes. I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to say one of the feedback that I got today was on using the cold laser to stimulate the vagus nerve on a girl that was having trouble swallowing. So we used it in here. She was coming in, and we wanted to. I just wanted to 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 stimulate the vagus nerve on this patient that because she was having some trouble swallowing, and I said, well, I wonder what would happen if I just took that laser and I just worked up and down and tried to stimulate that vagus nerve. And and she said she'd been dealing with this swallowing issue for quite some time. And so you just take the laser and you just work right over the top of that vagus nerve. And so that's all we did. We did it on both sides. Um, I know you guys might not see that, but I'm trying to show you what that looks like in case you guys on the radio can see it. But we used the laser to stimulate the vagus nerve. She said within 12 hours, her swallowing problem went away and never came back. And she lives out of town. And so you could take this laser and put it right there on your prefrontal cortex. You could just shoot it right at your brain. The laser increases ATP production, helps mitochondria function. Remember that chain that we were talking about when we broke down metformin? We were talking about that chain that was we were talking about how metformin clogs up mitochondrial respiration, and that's how it keeps you from being able to release glucose because those cells get jacked up, right? Well, this is what this does. These lasers, this red light and this violet light, goes straight in right there, and you just get well, this. Maybe you can see that a little bit. Yeah, for y'all you guys out there, you just get the laser and you can put it right on yourself. But that's what I did with her. I just ran it across that vagus nerve and stimulated that vagus nerve, and within 12 hours, her swallowing problem went away. She got adjusted too, but we stimulated that whole thing, and she did much better. So there's that was just a story that I heard today. She came in. I haven't seen her in a while because she lives out on a ranch, long way away from here, and then she brought the whole family in today. Husband came with her too. Three little good looking little rascals that came in with her, and they all got adjusted. And she told me that story, so I thought I would at least share with you what we do with it. It's zirconia laser. We use it all day long in lots of things, and we used it on a scar today. We use it on brain. We use it on inflammatory problems. Anything that we need to try to stimulate mitochondria with is pretty simple, and it's safe and effective, and it doesn't cause. It's not heat. It's not going to burn you. You can put it anywhere. Like there's no problem. We do keep it out of the eye. We don't, but other than that, like you can put it right there on your head, right on top of your head. There's no detrimental effect unless I start barking, and then you're going to wonder what the heck is he doing. So, laser therapy, cold laser therapy, Erconia cold laser therapy. It's kind of cool. It really is kind of cool, and we've had some good feedback with it. Since we hadn't had it super long, but we've had some good feedback with it. We could use it for lots of different stuff here in the office. Hey, just a reminder, we got about a minute left on the show. We're not going to be here tomorrow night. So for you guys that are watching on any social media, we will not have a show tomorrow night. We will be back on Wednesday with the show. You guys that are out there in Radio Land, we will be running an encore show that I believe that is talking about the fundamentals. And so I think it'll be a pretty good show that we did once before. You guys that have any questions, you want to send in 806-794-0400. If you want to send us in a message, I'd be glad to answer your message. If you have a question for me, I'd be glad to answer that for you. If you have a topic that you'd like for us to talk about, then I'd be glad to do that as well. And or if you just like to make a comment on the show, you can do the same thing on Facebook. You can make a comment. You can tell me how much my show sucks or how awesome it is. Either way, it doesn't make me any difference. Commenting on there kind of helps get the word out. So other than that, I hope you guys have a great evening, and we will see you all on Wednesday night. Thanks.